Have you ever noticed that in January, suddenly everyone begins to post New Year, New Me transformation plans while we're over here just trying to get our energy back after the holidays? Instead of my usual January panic, where I think about all the things I want to do and should be doing and how exactly am I going to get them done with my current energy levels, I found this beautiful peace. Yes, peace in thinking differently about my business and, more importantly, my business plans. Today, I'm sharing the 5 mindset shifts that have given me more hope and more excitement towards my business than I have had in years. And not one of them involves pushing myself harder or sacrificing my health for success. If you're curled up under a blanket, possibly still in your pajama bottoms, PJ Squad for the win, let's talk about how we can make this year feel different in the most gentlest, most sustainable way possible. Welcome to Chronic Illness CEO, where we're ditching the hustle culture and rewriting the rules of entrepreneurship to work for us, not against us. I'm Jessica Brown, a business strategist who knows firsthand what it's like to grow an online business while managing chronic health challenges. If you're done with cookie cutter advice that keeps you trapped in the cycle of push, crash, and flare, you're in the right place. Each week, we'll explore practical growth strategies for creating sustainable success. So grab your cozy blanket, your favorite warm drink, and let's discover what's possible when we stop fighting against our bodies and start building businesses that truly support our lives. The other day, I was going through my old business journals and planners because, yes, I'm that person that keeps them. I have boxes and I store them in a closet, and I found my goal from January 2024. I had written, get your life back on track and figure out what's going to work. 2024 was when my sabbatical was supposed to come to an end and I was going to do my next big thing. Whatever that thing was, it was going to lead me to feel purposeful. And past Jess, oh, beautiful, sweet past Jess, she was still stuck in that mindset that I had to work harder, strive harder, that if only I could find the magical solution or that golden ticket, then I would have success. If I could just find it, then my dreams would come true. What I think is so ironic is the answer, the golden ticket, the magical thing, the magical formula. It was so much simpler, and it's been within me all the time. But to see it, so we can implement it, well, that's going to require us to change how we think about everything and finally believe in ourselves. Easier said than done. And that's why it took me all of 2024 to come to this realization and acceptance. Now, I've spent the last several months thinking about what I want 2025 to look like. Not just in terms of business goals and numbers, but in terms of how I want to feel and how I want to work and how do I want to think about my journey as an entrepreneur with chronic illness or a chronic illness CEO. As I was planning this episode, it hit me that every major breakthrough that I have ever had in my business has not come from a new strategy or tool. It's come from a shift in how I think about success and worth and what's possible when I stopped trying to rush to prove myself to the world and started trusting in God's timing and my own pace. So today we're going to explore the 5 mindset shifts that have completely transformed, dare I say radically transformed, how I approach business while having a chronic illness. And I'll be sharing how I plan on implementing these mindsets into my business for 2025. Now let me paint you a picture of where I was at the beginning of 2024. For the last year, I had taken a sabbatical or a hiatus from running my business so I could better care for my father, who happens to be in the last chapter of his life. Thankfully, we had gotten to the point where my father was fairly stable, and there I was sitting down with my new planner, because I love planners, washi tape and colored pens, trying to figure out what I was going to focus on and accomplish that year. The big question that I had was, what was I going to do? Should I go back to corporate? Now, that would mean getting a steady paycheck, paid time off, benefits, but that most likely would mean I'd have to do some type of travel, most likely work in an office, and once more be at that 40-hour-ish grind per week. Alternatively, I could restart my business, pick up where I left off, which was creating long-form content on YouTube, short-form content on Instagram and TikTok, and relaunch my group coaching membership. I even contemplated going in a completely different direction, which was to become a content creator where I would review books because I love to read, and Chinese dramas because I love watching them, and finally writing that fantasy book series that has been living in my head for the past 5 or 6 years. I was stuck. I didn't know which path to choose because I was so focused on trying to figure out which one would be the easiest to implement and the fastest to succeed. Then, plot twist, I had my own health crisis. And just like that, my planner was put on the shelf, the washi tape and colored pencils put away. And I had to shift my focus from how I was going to contribute to the world to how I was going to take care of my body so that in the future, eventually, I could contribute once more. It was a pretty big derailment, and it got me in my feels. I felt like a failure because my life took a different turn. But now I'm actually celebrating the clarity that I received from that season. And more importantly, I'm approaching this year with a completely different mindset, one that honors both my ambitions and my reality. I know many of you are probably in that same space. Maybe you're looking at your unfinished 2024 goals or plans that got derailed by health challenges, and you're feeling that familiar weight of, I didn't do enough, or I'm not good enough, or my business isn't making enough. Or perhaps you've been scrolling through social media, seeing all those new year, new me posts and thinking, that's great, but what about those of us who have to work with the body we're given? Well, friend, that's exactly why we're here today, because sometimes the biggest transformations don't come from changing what we do. They come from changing how we think about what we do. Before we dive into these mindsets, let me share with you my vision for 2025. This year, I'm focusing on one main thing: building a sustainable business that serves others while honoring my health. That's it. No complicated strategies, no overwhelming launch schedules, just steady, intentional growth that prioritizes both impact and well-being. This vision wouldn't even be possible if I hadn't embraced these 5 mindset shifts. I hope that as I share them with you today, they'll help you as they did me. So let's get into it. The first mindset shift is one that completely transformed how I see myself, and as a result, my business. It started as a result of my daily lake times with God that I did this past year. I was sitting in my car at the lake, windows down, reading the Bible, and I came across Ephesians 2:10 that says, "For we are God's masterpiece. He has created us anew in Christ Jesus so we can do the good things He planned for us long ago." Friend, let that sink in for a moment. A masterpiece. Not a work in progress, not a future masterpiece once we got it all figured out, but a masterpiece right now. And you know what hit me? If I truly believe God created me, then I also need to believe that He sees me as His masterpiece. Yes, this broken and dysfunctional body, this hot mess express, self-criticizing, doubting her self-worth, wondering if she can make a difference person. A masterpiece. Not only a masterpiece, but His masterpiece, created to do good things He planned for me to do long ago, which means He intentionally put me here in this time, in this place, in this body. Why? Because He has a plan. Here's the beautiful truth that changed everything for me. It's not a plan that I can finally pursue when I'm good enough, healthy enough, worthy enough. It's a plan for right now, for me, exactly as I am. All I have to do is show up and be, well, me. And friend, if I'm a masterpiece, then you are too. Your chronic illness, part of the masterpiece. Your need for rest, part of the masterpiece. Your unique way of doing business that might not look like anyone else's, absolutely part of the masterpiece. When we embrace this truth, it completely changes how we do business. We stop trying to force ourselves into someone else's mold and start trusting our way. Even if it looks different, even if it takes longer, it's exactly how it's meant for us to be, to do the good work He's planned us to do. Once I started to embrace this whole that I'm a masterpiece just as I am mindset, I also ran into an interesting challenge because let's be real, believing something new after 40-ish years of believing otherwise, well, that's a whole process, friend, and it takes time, and it doesn't stick overnight, and it takes a while. And that's where the second mindset shift comes in. I needed to grant myself grace and embrace the pace. I had to start letting go of all these expectations that I had been carrying around. Oh my goodness. When I say there are expectations, there were so many expectations. There were expectations that young Jess picked up from society about what she should have accomplished by this age. There were voices of former influential people who had specific ideas about what I should or shouldn't do, how I should act or how I shouldn't act, or what I should be accomplishing. There were all these expectations, even from the online business space, about what success looks like or what it takes to achieve success in the online business space. And you know what's funny is even now, as I'm learning to be wiser and gentler with myself, I still find myself clinging to some of these expectations. And that's when I realized I needed to grant myself grace, real grace, the kind that acknowledges that my journey is going to look different. And not only is that okay, it's exactly how it should be, how it's meant to be, how God designed it to be. Now I need to embrace whatever pace each day brings, knowing it's all part of the plan, His plan. And you know what I learned is that all my past striving didn't get me anywhere faster. In fact, it probably slowed me down because I made myself more sick in the process. Now when I catch myself with a bad case of the shoulds, I pause and remind myself, grant grace, embrace the pace, and trust the journey. If we're going to build a sustainable business, we need to embrace mindset number 3, which might sound pretty radical in the entrepreneurial world, and that is, taking care of our bodies is our number one business strategy. It's not the marketing plan, not the content calendar, not your launch strategy, not even the products you're putting out there. No. It's taking care of our bodies. This means listening to our bodies, really listening to those subtle and sometimes not so subtle cues telling us what we need. It means prioritizing doctor's appointments, follow-up treatment plans, taking our medications consistently, staying hydrated, nourishing our bodies, getting proper amounts of rest. You catch my drift. I'm going to be super honest with you. This can feel completely overwhelming. I often feel overwhelmed by taking care of my body. There is so much to manage that I just don't have the energy to do it all. I don't even have the brain power to do it. And you know what? That's okay. We're granting ourselves grace and embracing the pace. Here's what it looked for me in 2024. I was really focused on getting the right medications figured out, ones that hopefully had less side effects like that wall of exhaustion. Now for 2025, my focus right now is intentional rest. Having a better diet, exercising regularly, yeah, they're on the list, but I put a pin in those for now. That's for future just to tackle. Right now, it's medication and rest. We'll see what comes next once I got those two locked and loaded in a way that's working best for me. Now, let me show you how this plays out from a day-to-day perspective. Currently, I let myself wake up naturally. For the most part, I don't turn on an alarm clock. Unless I have a morning doctor's appointment that had to be in the morning, some days I might wake up at 8 a.m. or 10 a.m. or 11 a.m., and I give myself room. The reason for this is I don't always sleep well at night. In prioritizing my rest, I'm allowing my body to get the rest it needs before I get up during the day. Now, what that looks like is it means that any calls I have are scheduled for afternoon hours. Any type of coaching program or products that I might design and implement is going to need to facilitate that. And friend, let's talk about brain fog for a moment. Between perimenopause and my chronic illness, some days my brain is feeling like it's running on dial-up, not 5G. And for you youngins out there that never experienced dial-up, let's just say it's very, very slow. On those days, I pivot. Mental tasks get pushed aside and I focus on the physical ones, like making a batch of food for Tucker. When I do have clear brain power, I then focus on mental tasks, and that's my priority, even if it means my laundry keeps piling up, which it has. And there's going to be a lot of loads of laundry coming next week. Your body's needs are going to look different than mine. How you structure your days will be unique to you. But here's the non-negotiable truth. Your body's needs must be one of the most important priorities for your business. Why? Because our business needs our bodies and minds to be functional, at least to some extent, for us to do the purposeful work that we're called to do. Our physical and mental well-being can no longer be an afterthought. They must come first. And you know what? This isn't just good self-care advice. This is strategic business planning at its finest, because a well-cared-for you is going to make better decisions, create better content, and serve your audience and clients so much more effectively than an exhausted pushing through it you. The next mindset is around goals and planning. I have a confession. I absolutely hate SMART goals. I'm not talking about intelligent goals. I'm talking about the SMART goals that you hear in corporate. I don't even remember what SMART stands for. Look it up if you're curious. But I have always hated creating SMART goals, especially the achievable and timely parts. Because when you're living with a chronic illness, trying to predict what you can achieve and if you can achieve something in a given timetable is like trying to predict the weather 6 months from now. Sure, you can take an educated guess, but let's be real. There's too many variables at play. Usually one of three things happens, at least for me. 1, I guessed correctly. I achieved the goal with ease, no flare-ups. Best case scenario also rarely happens. 2, I push myself to meet the deadline, often with a great amount of stress and sacrificing my health, my physical and mental well-being, which then almost always ends up with a flare-up afterwards. Or number 3, I protect my health. I maintain my boundaries. I miss the deadline, and then I proceed to beat myself up, which may also then trigger another flare-up. Don't even get me started on how this affects my planners. I love planners. I have bought so many planners. On my YouTube channel, I'll give you a tour of all my planners that I have ever bought. I've even designed a few planners for myself, digital planners as well as printed planners. I went so far as to buy all the equipment to print and bind them. And you know what happens? I keep up with it for maybe 2 or 3 weeks, but inevitably then everything goes to crap because I will plan out what I think my month should look or what the next couple weeks should look like. And then I have to cross things out. I have to erase things. I have to rip off the washi tape. I have to remove the stickers. It's a hot mess because I like color-coded Instagram-worthy spreads. And yet they're not accurate. If I keep the spreads as I plan them, inevitably they have to change. So usually by week 3, my planner looks a hot mess, isn't accurate, I'm feeling like a failure. It's literally just a reminder of how much I didn't actually accomplish, and it makes me feel like shit. And then I get angry at myself and I start to negative self-talk, and I'm like, why can't I get this simple lead magnet done? Why can't I finish this funnel in a few weeks like everyone else seems to do? And maybe you can, but not this girl, not in my current state where some days words are hard and the brain is foggy. So this year I decided to make some strategic changes that have completely transformed how I'm approaching my business. And that is no more SMART goals. Nope, not a zip. I'm just having objectives. What's the difference? The objective focuses on the end result that I want to achieve and how I want the journey to look and feel to get there. Secondly, there's no more deadlines. No. I'm not doing timelines ever again. Well, I can't say that. I'm not doing timelines for myself, my personal work. I'm going to be working with target dates and milestones, things that I'm shooting to hit, but not required to hit. Now, let me show you what this looks like in practice. My professional objective for this year is to serve in the gifts that God has given me in alignment with Him in a manner that provides for the resources needed by my family and allows me to give generously to others. Notice how different that feels from a SMART goal? The path to achieve this can look many different ways. It could be an in-house job, project-based work, or business selling digital products, or anything for that matter. But whatever path I choose, it needs to leverage my gifts, align with my values, work with my family's needs, and allow me to give generously to others. And remember, giving isn't just about money. It's about having the energy to pour into others too. For this first quarter, I'm implementing that through launching this podcast, offering my Sustainable CEO Strategy Days, and possibly even documenting my journey on YouTube. Instead of rigid deadlines, I have loose target dates. Now, originally, I wanted to get the podcast launched by the end of January. It's most likely going to be the beginning of March. And I would love to generate income from those strategy days towards the end of March. And my first vlog, I don't even know anymore, but it will happen. Will I achieve it or won't I achieve it? I don't know, but you can follow along on my journey on my YouTube channel. That link will be in the show notes. And you know the best part about all this? I've had my 2025 planner for 2 months now, and it's still going strong. If you're curious about how I make that work, I'll be showcasing my exact planner setup in an upcoming YouTube video, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it. Now, maybe traditional goals and timelines work perfectly for you. If so, rock on, my friend. But if you're struggling like I have, if you felt like a failure because your body doesn't conform to arbitrary deadlines, then maybe this mindset shift is exactly what you need for 2025. You know what I've heard over and over throughout the years, and you probably have too? It's trust the process, Jess. If you create long-form content and you go live every week, then your YouTube channel will grow and you'll be able to monetize it faster. Trust the process, Jess. If you build your email list, then when you launch, it will be successful. Trust the process. Great advice, right? But here's what no one's asking. What if the process is the problem? Let me break something down for you. A strategy is simply how you're going to make the what happen. Do you want to be a full-time content creator and earn income to replace your job? There are a lot of strategies to choose from. You could do long-form content. You could do short-form content. You could do a mix. For monetization, you could get sponsorships, ad revenue, creator shares. The list goes on. Everywhere you look, there are some experts sharing with you how they reached their goal, whether it's making 7 figures on their first launch or how they finally got their dog to stop barking every time someone came to the door. They package up the process. After all, these strategies work for them. They've tested it out with others, find out that others get similar results, and voila, you have yourself a framework. But friend, I need you to lean in and hear this. Not every framework will work for every person. You can have the best strategy, one that has worked for thousands of people, and it still might not work for you. Why? Because that framework isn't designed to work for your unique needs. Have you ever found that you've taken some type of online course or group coaching program or mastermind or something, and you found yourself struggling to keep up or struggling to implement something? It's like you're stuck on module 3, video 4. Or let's say you push yourself to follow the framework as much as you possibly can to the point where maybe you've pushed yourself into a flare-up or two, or you rush through, possibly in a haze of pain and exhaustion, only to be crushed when it didn't work. I see you. I've been you. In fact, I've invested over $50,000 in courses, group coaching programs, one-on-one coaching programs, mentorships, masterminds. You name it, I've done it over the past 10 years. And yes, admitting that number does make me feel a certain kind of way, but you know what? That investment has taught me many things. There are a lot of strategies, a lot of frameworks, each with various different degrees of efficacy as well as cost. Listen, I love me a good strategy. I love to study strategy. I love to study frameworks. I love to break them apart. I love to see what about them works well and what are the costs. You know what? I found that the best strategies, well, they're not cookie cutter ones. They're not the one size fits all. No. The best strategies must be tweaked and tailored and combined to fit the unique needs of each person and the brand. In the corporate world, this is normal. Big businesses have huge teams. They can even hire agencies to help them as well, which is what I used to do in corporate. And these teams are dedicated to testing frameworks, analyzing the data, and adapting the strategies. Test, analyze, adapt. Test, analyze, adapt is a constant cycle. But for us, most likely solopreneurs with chronic illness, that process looks very different. First, it takes knowledge. Second, resources. And third, time, which might be the most precious commodity when you're managing a chronic illness. It's especially tricky because most programs are going to want you to follow the framework exactly so you can test it. They need you to try it so they can look at the different data points and then they can see what needs to be adapted. But for those of us with a chronic illness, we might not be able to implement the framework exactly as designed. Like any framework that requires daily social media posts or multiple short form videos or a lot of budget for advertisement, that's a no can do for me. So instead of just trust the process, I want to encourage you to embrace your journey, your unique path. This means being willing to experiment with different strategies. Pay attention to what works with your body and business, letting the data tell the story without judgment and finding peace in creating your own way. Because maybe the real process that we need to trust isn't someone else's framework. It's in our own ability to listen to our body, honor our needs, and build something sustainable in our own time, in our own way. This is exactly why I'm here with this podcast, because I felt this gap firsthand. This need for someone who understands that chronic illness doesn't look the same for each person. My journey with my chronic illness and limited energy is going to look completely different than someone managing POTS or fibromyalgia or any other chronic condition, which means the strategy and frameworks that might work for me might be completely unsuitable for someone else. Everything we've been talking about today comes back to one simple truth. Your business should work with your body, not against it. So here's something I've been wanting to tell you about for a while now. It's for those days when you're looking at your business and thinking there has to be a better way than this constant push, crash, guilt cycle. I created something called the Sustainable CEO Strategy Day, specifically for entrepreneurs like us who are trying to build something meaningful while managing unpredictable health. Here's the deal. It is not your typical business in a day intensive where you leave with a massive to-do list and no energy to implement it. That'd be terrible, right? Instead, we're going to work together through my favorite app, Marco Polo, which is a video messaging app that allows us to watch and respond as we have the energy. We'll build you a personalized sustainable success action plan that includes a clear roadmap showing exactly what to prioritize for maximum impact with minimal energy. Strategic recommendations for simplifying your current business processes because simpler equals more sustainable. Systems you can set up to keep your business running even during flares. A decision-making framework that helps you choose the right moves for your unique energy levels. And practical ways to protect your energy while still growing your business. The best part? You get to work from your coziest spot at home. No need to look professional or push through brain fog on a Zoom call. We do this at your pace in a way that honors your body in pajamas. Honestly, it's a strategy day I wish someone had offered me years ago before I burned myself out trying to follow business advice that wasn't designed for bodies like us. If you're ready to transform your business into one that actually supports your health instead of draining it, just visit chronicillnessceo.com to see all the details. I'd love to help you build something sustainable. Now, whether or not you're ready to work together, I want to give you something practical you can start implementing right away. Since we've covered 5 powerful mindset shifts today, I got a simple but impactful exercise for you. Break out your journal, whether it's the digital one on your phone or iPad, or one that you like to write with color markers, pens, and pencils. At the top of a fresh page, write down which of the 5 mindset shifts most resonated with you today. Then divide your page into 3 sections. There's the old story, which is what you've been telling yourself. The new story, that's the mindset shift that you want to embrace. And the third column is your small wins, a space to document the moments where you catch yourself shifting to the new mindset. For example, if objectives over deadline really spoke to you, your old story might look like, I'm always behind schedule. I can't meet deadlines like everyone else. You suck, Jess, because you didn't launch your podcast in January. Your new story could be, I best work at the pace my body allows, and that's exactly how it should be. My podcast launching in March is going to be good enough. Then over the next week, just notice when that old story plays in your head and practice gently replacing it with a new story. Document your small wins, even if it's just catching yourself in that old pattern of thinking. Remember, these mindset shifts aren't about perfection, they're about progress. And shifting your mindset takes time. And friend, you've already taken the first step by just being here today. Thank you for spending this time with me today. If you're loving this episode and want to help more entrepreneurs with chronic illness discover that they don't have to sacrifice their health to build a successful business, and it would also be a huge help for this new show, I've got 3 quick ways you can help. First, hit that subscribe button. It makes sure that you don't miss any upcoming episodes and lets this platform know that our content is worth sharing. Second, if you're feeling extra generous, leave us a 5-star rating and review. Those ratings and reviews aren't just nice to read, although they totally make my day. They actually help push this podcast up in the algorithm so other entrepreneurs with chronic illness can find our cozy little community. And finally, if you know another business owner who's tired of the push, crash, flare cycle, share this episode with them because, friend, everyone deserves to know that there's a better way to build a business that truly supports their life. Until the next time, I'm wishing you a gentle day.